Well, it's time for the Believathon wrap-up for the third time because this is my third time filming this video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Could be a long one because I did read a lot of books in November. 15 books to be exact. However, 6 of those books were very, very short Roald Dahl books. So if you don't count them, I read 9 books. But I'm counting them, so 15. That gave me an average of 3.88 for the month, which isn't too great. But if you take out those Roald Dahl books, I will have an average of 4.43, and that is a huge difference. That would have been my best reading month average-wise. You know, you can't have it all. I did, in the month of November, host Believathon, a readathon dedicated to reading children's books, and I think it went pretty well. We read a total of 608,267 pages, and I think that's quite amazing for children's books because children's books are on average around 300 pages long, so that is amazing. I've had to delete some duplicates and things, but there were 2,277 completed entries on the form for Believathon. I don't know where I'm looking. Sorry, I'm using a new camera and I don't know where I'm looking. Hopefully if all goes to plan as well, this new camera will be a keeper because the last new camera had to go. But I did say a little bit about the stats on the live show that I hosted to talk about the group book Frostheart as well as the other Believathon details and just to know what you guys read during the month and what you loved and your favourite books of the month. So still let me know down below what your favourite book of the month was because I'm dying to know. But I am going to be ranking the 15 books that I read in November for you today. I have done this video for the 3rd time now and quite honestly I was standing up in the first 2 videos. I've sat back down now, I've got a coffee and just ready to talk about these books again. So this was my entire November TBR. I need to zoom back there so you can see it. And plus one, which was Serpent and Dove by an author, but I didn't actually get the book and I was supposed to read it for Read Rate Review. I'm so sorry, Jay, I've let you down. But I didn't end up reading Serpent and Dove, as well as I didn't read half of this TBR because that was 25 books. And there was just no way I was going to do that. So I will talk you through the books that I didn't manage to read. I did not read The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett or Small Spaces by Catherine Arden, and this was on my October TBR as well that I didn't actually read, so I am so sorry. I am so sorry. The Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell, Secrets of a Sun King by Emma Carroll, When Money Was There by Joan J. Robinson, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, and then the adult books that I was supposed to read were The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. I can confirm as of recording this video for the 3rd time, I have finished reading this one now, but I didn't finish it in November, so it doesn't count. But I did read this for Bonathon, which is hosted by Ashley at A Frolic Through Fiction, and you can watch the live show as well. I will put the link up here somewhere so that you can check it out if you want to. And I didn't manage to read the 2 parts of Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. I am reading these books for the Catch Up Book Club, which is hosted by Becca. I am halfway through the first part now, but I didn't start it until December. And the live show for that is going to be on December 15th at 8 PM UK time. Yes, I think so. I pushed the last one back, so I have an extra week of reading this. So I'm going to get into my ranking now, and at number 15 is The Twits by Roald Dahl. I read this for Roald Dahl Day, and I gave this 1.95 out of 5 stars, so not even a 2-star really. This was... I thought I would love this because I remember thinking it was so funny as a child, and I don't usually change my ratings of books that I loved as a child, but this one I think I'm going to make an exception for. This is about a man and wife, and they are the Twits, and they are just so horrible and nasty to each other. Like, I don't know why they're together. They pull the meanest pranks on each other, but I guess they've just got banter. Like, they do have good banter together, I guess, and I can't be jealous because at least they've got a relationship, so who am I to judge? But this one is so disjointed. The first half of it is the couple pulling pranks on each other, and then the last half is a sort of escape attempt from monkeys in a cage that the Twits have, and they're going to cook them and stuff like that. So it's really bizarre. I did like the fact that there is a bit of a crossover with this one and The Enormous Crocodile by Roald Dahl, which I will get to very soon. But there is a couple of cameos, so it's a little bit, you know, of an Avengers universe kind of thing. And I kind of like that. But it didn't save this novel for me. I just found this so mean-spirited and unfunny, which is so controversial because so many people find this book funny. But I'm sorry, but this one is just... it wasn't good, in my opinion. It's okay to love it, but oh gosh, like this is such a bad message to send to kids. There was one good message in this. and that was, when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier and uglier until it gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it. So it kind of teaches kids to sort of not judge people or be nasty about people or have negative thoughts about people that they shouldn't be. So I like that, but that is literally on one of the first pages, and then it's so downhill from there. So downhill from there. But yeah, don't hate me because I didn't like the twits. It was really bad. Just above it at number 14 is SEO Trot by Roald Dahl, which I read for Roald Dahl Day as well, and I gave this one 2.15 out of 5 stars. And again, this isn't a good one. I mean, I know a few people do like it. It's a bit of a hidden gem of Roald Dahl's, I believe, that people call it. But, oh gosh. So, this very narrow plot here is about an old man who lives above his neighbour. They have this balcony kind of setting going on, and his neighbour is this younger woman, although she's not that young. Anyway, she has this tortoise, and she wants it to grow bigger. So he tells her some magic words so that this tortoise will grow and grow and grow. But he's deceiving her because he is kidnapping her tortoise. He keeps replacing them with slightly bigger tortoises just so it seems like his magic words are working, and she falls for it. They fall in love and they get married, and the end. So very problematic right there, because he is tricking her, he is deceiving her, and he is not a nice man. Like, there are no redeeming characters in this, and there's not many characters at all, actually, to be fair. But it's just so... it was boring, I would probably call it. The reason I put it above the twits is literally just because it doesn't have as terrible a message as the twits. Although, yeah, please don't trick your future spouse into marrying you, please. Like, don't lie to them, please. Like, this just shows you what not to do, which I guess is a message in itself. Yeah, read this for Roald Dahl Day. It's so super short, so you can quickly get through it in like 20 minutes. Sometimes all you need is 20 minutes though, am I right, ladies? But yeah, I'm glad I read it, so I'll never have to read it again. Can you tell I'm already sick talking about these books? In at number 13 is The Giraffe and the Pelle and Me, which I gave 2.60 out of 5 stars. And this was just, yeah, this was better than the Twits and SEO Trot. But at the same time, not a lot happens. And I know it's the problem with these really, really short Roald Dahl books. But, so it's about a young boy who goes to his abandoned sweet shop, which has been taken over by a giraffe, a Pelle, and a monkey. And they start a window cleaning service, and they end up cleaning the windows of the richest man in town. I mean, what luck. Firstly, what luck. I use this for the Strong Sense of Friendship prompt because I had to rearrange all my prompts to fit the books that I completed. And I do kind of like the friendship between the young boy and the giraffe and the Pelle and the monkey. I like that. And it's definitely not problematic like the other ones. There were some good moments in this, some funny moments, especially when, I think it was the Baroness, when her, or Duchess, is it the Duchess? Might be the Duchess, who has her jewels stolen, and she's freaking out. I kind of like that. But other than that, there's just not really a lot redeeming about this book at all. And as you can probably tell, I don't have a lot to say about it. Though it's the third time talking about it, I still don't have a lot to say about it. There's nothing to dissect from this. It's just a quick short read, and that's it. Like, nothing to pull from it at all. So I'm going to slide on over to the next one. It's actually a bit of a jump now, because in at number 12 is The Enormous Crocodile, which I gave 3.60 out of 5 stars. I did really enjoy this one, actually. So it is about a crocodile who lives in the jungle, and one day he really wants to eat a child. So he goes through the jungle telling these animals what he's about to do, and they are so enraged by it that when the crocodile gets to the village to eat these children, and he's trying to trick them, the animals from the jungle are sort of standing up for the children, and I really enjoy that. It's kind of, I might be reading too much into it, but I like the message of people standing up to bullies. Like, I say the crocodile is this big bully, and it's so morbid, the fact that he's going to try and eat a child, and he's pretending to be a sea so that a child will sit on him so he can eat him. But what was really good about this is the fact that these jungle animals all pull together to save the children. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this one. It was a good time. Again, really short. And that's why I picked 6 Roald Dahl books to read in one day. It was really great. I mean, even though I didn't like all the books, it was a really fun time. But yeah, I would say out of all of his really short ones, this is probably one of the best. You don't hear a lot about it as well. And as I said before, there were some characters from the Twits in this one. I don't know which one came first, but I liked seeing that crossover. I read this one first, and then I read the Twits like a little bit later. So it was nice to see some of those characters from this one in the Twits, but it didn't save the Twits at all. So it was a big jump from Giraffe and the Pelle Mate to this one. I really enjoyed this one. Super enjoyed it. Such a fun little time. Okay, in at number 11 is not a Roald Dahl book. It is Goosebumps Welcome to Dead House by R.L. Stine. I gave this one 3.75 out of 5 stars. And this one filled the prompt to reread a personal childhood favourite. Now, Welcome to Dead House is not my childhood favourite, but the Goosebumps series as a whole is. So that's why I had to change one of my prompts to make it fit to this one. I do enjoy this one. I think it's a good start to the kind of anthology series of Goosebumps. I think it has all the tropes that you would expect from it, you know, the cliffhanger endings, which are really good sometimes not, like sometimes they are a bit of a miss, but this one does follow two siblings, and I do love when R.L. Stine has that sibling dynamic. It's done really well in this one, and they go to a new town, they move to a new house, and it seems to be haunted. So it is the kind of standard haunted house story, but there were some twists later on in this story that actually came flooding back to me. I remembered so much from this book from rereading it, and I thought I'd forgotten it because I'm telling you, it's been like 20 years since I last read this. I mean, I know I don't look old enough to have lived for 20 years, but it's true. But I'm just so glad that I could plunge back into Goosebumps, and this was actually my 100th book of 2019. I've never read 100 books before. I've never read past 22 books in a year before, so this one was the first book I read for Believathon, 100th book of the year. Just, so special. But yeah, I still gave it 3.75 because it was very cliche. I think back in 1992 when it was released and when I was born, it probably wasn't as cliche as we see it now because I think the tropes have been done to death. But I didn't let that affect my rating too much. I still really enjoyed my time with it. I loved going back into R.L. Stine's writing style, and I just really love this series, and I can't wait to read more. Maybe next October, I don't know, but oh god, I do. I just love it. But it is quite low on the list, I'm sorry. Is there anything else I want to talk about this book? Probably not. Okay, moving on. In at number 10 is The Magic Finger by Roald Dahl, and I gave this one 3.80 out of 5 stars because this one does have actually a brilliant message, and I really enjoyed my time reading this. So this is about a young girl who has this magic finger, and whenever she gets angry at someone, she can give them karma kind of thing. There's probably a better way of explaining her powers. So for example, in this story, she has 2 friends and their family are hunters and they kill innocent animals, which enrages me, let me tell you. Rage, fucking rage. So I really sympathise with the main character. They are a terrible family. She curses them with her finger. The next day they wake up as birds. I really enjoyed that role reversal, and it really makes you think before you shoot, you bastards. So I had a bit of a little crisis reading this because I thought, god, there is so much shit in this world. I'm not getting into it. Yeah, don't kill innocent animals or you shit. So that was my takeaway from this one. I like the message. Roald Dahl does some really good messages in some of his children's books, and it works really well in this one. So yeah, 3.80 out of 5 stars, and almost my favourite Roald Dahl book of Roald Dahl Day. So speaking of my favourite book on Roald Dahl Day, it is George's Marvellous Medicine in at number 9 with 3.85 out of 5 stars, so it did just edge The Magic Finger, and this one was to read a book set in the past. Again, I had to change it up a bit. This is about a boy who is left in the care of his grandma for the day, and she is really mean to him, so he decides to pull a lot of random crap from around the house and puts it into this pot, mixes it all together, and gives it to his grandma as her medicine. And it's really funny. Like, I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, it is a bad message though, because you should not be feeding your grandma toxic liquids or anything like that, so don't do it. Obviously I'm a walking contradiction here because I just slated the Twits, and yet I'm praising George's Marvellous Medicine. But anyway, this was done in an entertaining way. That's probably not right either. I really like the story style in this one because a lot of it was rhyming, and I don't like a lot of Roald Dahl's rhymes sometimes. Like, don't at me. But I think a lot of the times he stretches with his rhymes and it just doesn't work. This one I enjoyed it quite a bit, so I wasn't as fussed about all the rhyming. Usually I am, but that's another story for another day. So I did like this one. I think I did read this as a child because some memory of it was coming back, and I liked the stuff that he was putting in there. He was putting in like aerosol cans, like hairspray and shampoo and toothpaste and extra hot chili sauce, curry powder, mustard powder, you know, wax floor polish, you know, just like so much random rubbish that I think would make kids keel over laughing, which is so bad though. It's so bad. But again, it was my favourite Roald Dahl book of Roald Dahl Day. Fortunately, the last Roald Dahl book in this list. I will move on, I promise. You can probably see a little bit more of my thoughts in my week 1 Believathon vlog, which I will link somewhere up here for you to watch anytime you like. But yeah, that was a really good day, and thank you so much to everyone who participated on Twitter, and I just really loved reading these books for you guys. At number 8 is North Child by Edith Batu. I gave this one 4.05 out of 5 stars. This is my read a book featuring myths and legends. It wasn't originally supposed to be, it was supposed to be Percy Jackson, but in that, this one, it was gonna be 5-star at one point, it really was. This is about a young girl called Rose, and she is born facing north. There is a superstition that if you are born facing north, you will meet a snowy end, kind of thing. That's what I'm saying about that part. But one day she is visited by a white bear who takes her away to this magical castle, and alas, we have an adventure, guys. And for some of this, at least for like the first 150, 200 pages, I was really thinking this was going to be a 5-star read. And then it just kind of lulled a lot, especially in part 2. It just really, really lulled and dragged it down for me, unfortunately. And yeah, it really prevented me from giving it a 5-star. I got so many fairy tale feels from this, especially from the Snow Queen, Beauty and the Beast. And I think a lot of people agree with that when they've read it as well. So I was really enjoying the atmosphere. This is like the perfect polar fantasy to read, especially for Polathon, if you're going to be joining in February. I will link that down below. That is hosted by Jade at JD Reads, so definitely check that out as well. It's going to be in February. Watch this space. So November was the perfect time to read this, and it did follow a string of 5-star reads, so I think there was a lot of pressure on this one. I put so much pressure onto it. But yeah, we got to a point in the story where nothing was happening really, and it was getting a little bit repetitive, and I was just like, okay, I need something to happen. And then something finally did happen. We got a lot more action, especially towards the end, but then, yeah, the ending kind of, I enjoy, but at the same time, there are a couple of problematic things about it, as well as the fact that it was a really easy kind of climax, if you know what I mean. I think sometimes children's books fall into that category of really easy kind of ending scenes where things are wrapped up a bit too well, and fours are taken down a bit too easily. So yeah, that was kind of what dragged it down a bit for me. But this is probably one of the most beautifully written children's books I've ever read. The prose in this is just so beautiful. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's so atmospheric. Perfect read for this time of year. And like, maybe if I read it at a different time and I wasn't so pressured to read it, maybe I would enjoy it more. Because, yeah, I took ages to read this one, and it didn't put me in a slump, but I felt slumpish while reading it. So I think if I maybe give it another chance, I might bump up the rating. But at the minute, it's sitting at a 4.05, because, you know, I'm trying to be a little bit extra. But yeah, beautiful cover as well, man. Top notch. In at number 7 is A Place Called Perfect by Helena Duggan, and I gave this one 4.10 out of 5 stars, and this was to read a creepy or atmospheric book. I read this right after Halloween, pretty much. I read Welcome to Dead House, and then this one. Oh, I was on such a roll at the start of Believathon. God, how downhill I went so fast. But anyway, this was definitely needed at the time I read it. I felt all of the atmospheric vibes from this, as I knew I would, because a lot of people I really look up to for reviews have favoured this one, and with good reason. I really enjoyed it. This is about a young girl called Violet, and she moves to a new town called Perfect, but there is something really sinister lurking underneath. There's like this big conspiracy thing going on. We have no idea what is happening in Perfect, and I am living for it. I love these kind of mysteries in children's books because I just didn't know where it was going to go, but it was so interesting. And she does meet this boy called Boy, which, you know, apt name. But yeah, I really enjoyed their dynamic. The characters in this are so great. Violet is so intuitive. But I think what let me down a little bit for this one is that I didn't get as much of the creepiness that I wanted from this. This is described as a little bit like Coraline, and I agree, but it was definitely lacking in the creepy department for me, because there were a lot of cheat scares, and I don't like cheat scares. The same scare happened 3 times, and I'm pretty sure all of them happened at the end of a chapter, so it was like a cliffhanger. And I'm just going to tell you, it's pretty much Violet getting shocked by something, but it turns out to be Boy. That happened 3 times, and that was 2 times too many. Sorry, that's like really picky, but I don't like cheat scares. I don't mind it maybe once or twice, but 3 times really? But we did get some really creepy looking flowers with eyeballs. I don't know if you'll see nicely there. So that was really cool. I like that. And I just enjoyed the mystery. And it's such a weird little town as well, and I was living for it. I cannot wait to read the next book, which is The Trouble with Perfect, and there is a 3rd book called The Battle for Perfect. It is a trilogy, it ends with a 3rd one, so I'm still really invested in this. I really do want to get to the other 2 books, like ASAP. I'm kicking myself for not reading it sooner. So it is one of those children's books that is a definite 4-star. It's a solid 4-star book, but I'm hoping that the rest of these books will be even better. In at number 6 is The Snow Sister by Emma Carroll. I gave this one 4.50 out of 5 stars. This one was to read a seasonal book, and it is a very short kind of Christmas novella, and this one was very kindly gifted to me by Steph. I will link her channel down below. She is amazing. Love her so much. And this is the first Emma Carroll book that I've ever read, and I'm so excited. I was supposed to read Secrets of a Sun King as well, and that's the Emma Carroll book I'm most excited to read. So I'm kicking myself for not reading it. But anyway, back to this one. This one is about a young girl who has lost her sister years before. Every year she makes a snowman and she puts her dead sister's shawl over it. And that's pretty sad, but it's not the focus of this story. This is set in the Victorian times, I'd like to say. I don't think the time period is specific, but it does feel very Victorian. So there were a little bit of Christmas Carol vibes from this, but not quite. So really the main story of this is that this young girl, she is from a poor family as well, I should mention, and she goes into town to get some Christmas pudding ingredients. Something happens, there is an altercation, and it means that she might not make it home for Christmas. So this is, like, I probably was really generous with my rating for this because I've rounded it up to a 5, but I got so Christmassy with this, and I just really enjoyed my time reading this, which I'm saying about a lot of these books actually, but I just really loved it. It is huge writing as well, and we do have some illustrations, I think 1 per chapter, which are really beautiful. And if you do want to get into a bit of a Christmassy mood, then this is the perfect book for it. And this also has this really realistic ending. I was really worried that I was going to go into a bit of a kind of easy ending, I guess, or the ending that we would all predict, but it didn't. It went in the ending I think that it should have. Yeah, it made me feel, which is great, especially for such a short book. But yeah, as my first Emma Carroll book, this was really good. Great first foray into her writing style. She is a good writer, y'all. Yeah. Thank you again, Steph, for sending me this one. It's really appreciated and I really loved it. In at number 5 is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. I gave this one 4.60 out of 5 stars. Kind of matches my jumper, which Paige got me as well. I love this jumper. I've worn it so many times already. So this is a story about a young boy called August, and he has this rare facial disfigurement. So he's always been homeschooled. He's never really been around a big group of children before. He has had sort of social interactions every now and then with kids on the outside, and they've never been pleasant interactions. It's going to be his first foray into school, and oh gosh, like this is such an emotional read. Like you really feel for August because not only do other people judge him, he judges himself, and that's probably what breaks my heart the most. Oh gosh, he just, this one did make me cry. It's just so, it is sad, but it's really uplifting at the same time because there are kids in the world who are genuinely nice, and you just gotta like try and find them, but they are there. And this was probably the book that I read quickly, you know, out of the chunkier books, because I was so invested in his story. I wanted to know what was going to happen to him next, and I just really wanted to wrap my arms around him and tell him everything was going to be okay. Like, oh gosh, he just needed a break. Really good writing style. It was really emotive at points, and it did make me frustrated at points. This is told in different perspectives, so we start with August, and there are like other perspectives as well. I'll not tell you whose they were. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But I think this is like one of the most important children's books. Like, I want children to read this, to hopefully learn about human kindness and not to judge people. There was also another side story in this, which was very emotional, because I went through this year. If you've been following my channel, you'll know what it is. Yeah, it's just, oh god, it's just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. I didn't know my heart could be stamped on that many times. But I heard the movie is just as good, and I'm really excited to watch the movie. Now I've read the book, I can. So there is also another book by R.J. Palacio called Oggy and Me, which I will probably try and read at some point. It looks so good. Like, genuinely one of my favourite children's books now of all time. Just an emotional roller coaster. So don't read this until you are fully prepared to read this. In at number 4 with 4.65 out of 5 stars is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White, and this one I read to read a book with an animal character. This follows a young pig called Wilbur and a spider called Charlotte, and one day the pig finds out he's on the chopping block, so Charlotte concocts his plan to save him, and it's just so good. Like, I understand now why so many people love this. This is a beloved children's book now, and E.B. White also wrote Stuart Little, but apparently Stuart Little is not a good read. I think E.B. White learned from his mistakes and delivered such a beloved book, because this was written really well. Like, the other animals in the farm, they had characteristics that were very animal-like, so even though, like, animals don't talk, they were speaking, and it just felt real to me a bit. Like, that probably didn't make sense, and also animals probably can talk when we're not looking, and also they do talk because they like bear and moo and things like that, so, you know. Anyway, back to the actual story. I wasn't sure if I was going to love it because I didn't know what I was going to be in for, because I never watched a movie adaptation of it. I just knew that people said it was going to be sad, so my mind went to dark places at times. It's not just sad though, it's like, it gets to a sad point and then E.B. White like pummels it into you still. Like, he doesn't just let it lie, he reminds you. And it's so hard. This is one of those books where I read and I remember where I was when I read it. Because I was in Starbucks having my final pumpkin spice latte of the season. Sad times. But I was just having the time of my life, and it was great. I just absolutely loved it. But yeah, I am so glad I read this one now, and I definitely would recommend reading this if you haven't already. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I want to say about it. This was one of the early ones I read, so a lot of my thoughts have already gone out of my head. Watch my vlogs for more. I don't know. Sorry, I'm so bad at wrap-ups, but Believathon had to be wrapped up. So yeah, I did actually watch the Charlotte's Web movie a couple of weeks ago. I think it starred Dakota Fanning, and I thought it was a good little adaptation. It wasn't too bad. So, book is always better, y'all. In at number 3 is The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. I gave this one 4.70 out of 5 stars. Whew, so high. This is actually like my genuine childhood favourite, so I was expecting a full-on 5. We'll get to that in a second. Instead now, this is my children's classic. I read this for Classics Weekend, and I buddy read it with Cody, and we had such a fun time reading this one. We had so many thoughts on this one. Yeah, I didn't like the illustrations in this one, but these aren't the original illustrations anyway, which is a shame because I love this edition so much. This is a story about a young girl called Dorothy and her dog Toto, and she lives on a farm in Kansas, and then one day a tornado takes her to the land of Oz, where she kills one of the wicked witches and goes on this adventure to try and get home. I love the story, I love the whole adventure aspect of it, and of course I love the 1939 MGM movie starring Judy Garland. That is one of my favourite movies of all time. But there were some things that let me down in this. There were like 6 pages before she got to Oz, so there wasn't really a backstory. There wasn't any kind of development of Dorothy before her time in Oz, so I didn't really feel that much for her. There were just like silly little things as well, especially with the Wicked Witch of the West. And also the Wicked Witch's demise is so quick, and it's just like, she's in one chapter, she's scared of the dark. It's not really sinister like the movie. In the movie she's like, oh, what a world, blah blah blah, you know, as she's melting. In this one she's like, look out, here I go. And like, me and Cody love it, really. Like, absolutely love it. But at the same time, it's like, it pales a little in comparison to the spectacle that is the movie. I do appreciate this still. It is still one of my childhood favourites, and it's why I've still given it such a high rating. I love that this world has opened up a bit more in the book, because the Wicked Witch dies halfway through, and there's still a bit of adventure left to go, and we see the China country, which I think, wait, no, you do see in the Oz the Great and Powerful movie starring James Franco, which I do enjoy. I enjoy that movie as well. I love seeing different aspects of this world, and yeah, it is a really good world that L. Frank Baum has set up, so I'm interested to see where else he is going to go in this series, because there are, I think, 13 or 14 more books in the series. So that'll be really interesting. Still loved it though, and it's why I've given it such a high rating. But yeah, I definitely saw a lot of the comparisons to the movie and where they got a lot of the inspiration from this, so I just appreciate this so much. And it's such an old book now as well, like, and it's just stood the test of time, really. And I love that. I love that so much. In second place is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, which I gave 4.70 stars as well. And I freaking love this one. This one was to read a book featuring magic. And boy, did this book feature magic. It's such a magical world, so full of whimsy. It follows this witch called Zan, and she goes into the forest and she collects a child that's always left by this village for some reason, which I will not explain, because I want you guys to read this one. Like, I need you guys to read this one. But anyway, she saves the children that they leave in the forest, and she feeds them starlight. But one year, she saves a young girl and feeds her moonlight by accident, which infuses her with magic. And she calls her Luna, and as she's growing up, her magic powers are sort of getting a bit unstable. And it's just so good. For one, I love the writing style. I could imagine this as a movie. It was so theatrical. And there were several other stories going on as well. There is a young boy who is trying to figure out kind of the mysteries of this village and why they're doing what they're doing kind of thing. So this one was just so good, and I love the whole, like, there's this swamp monster thing, and it just ties into time, and magic seems so natural, you know, and yeah, it just, oh, it's so beautiful. It's such a good one. Like, I do love anything that features witches, really. I think they're my favorite kind of mythical being. So this one was a really good one for that. I was really interested to see where the story would go, because there isn't this like good versus evil kind of aspect to this. So I was like, oh, okay, this is like really interesting. Yeah, I think Kelly Barnhill did a really good job with writing this one, because you can just tell in her language just how magical this story is. And I keep saying magical, but this is just so magic. That's how I would describe this book, just pure magic. Like, I can't really say much more about this one, to be honest. I was also gifted this by Paisley, so thank you so much for gifting me one of my new favourites, Paisley. Like, I genuinely love this one. It's one of those ones where you put down, you leave it for a little bit, and you're like, you know what, I could probably pick this up again. And yeah, it's just so good, like so good. Which leaves my number one pick, which will be no surprise whatsoever to you guys. They'll be sick to death if you hear me talk about this one. But it is Frostheart by Jamie Littler, which I gave 4.85 out of 5 stars. And this was a group book for Believathon. And I'm so glad that so many people responded so positively to this one, because I was really worried that making this a group book, people might not enjoy it, even though this is literally one of my favourite children's books since Harry Potter. It's just, I love this world. So if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, this is about a young boy called Ash, and he has magical powers which are forbidden, and he lives in a stronghold that's in the middle of the Snow Sea. And one day the crew of the Frostheart comes, and the Frostheart, they bring supplies to each stronghold, like throughout the Snow Sea. Ash saves them from these monsters that live in the Snow Sea, which outs his powers, and he's banished, and he joins the Frostheart, and his parents are missing, so he wants to find them. They've left him a lullaby, which kind of gives him clues to where they might be. And I just love that whole aspect of it. It's so wonderful and magical, and I love the characters as well. And I just love Ash. He's such a little cutie. I so see myself as him when I was a child. And his relationship with Tobu, his Yeti guardian, is just so wonderful, so amazing. And Luna as well. I love Luna, who he meets on the Frostheart. I'm just rambling now, but that's fine. I just think this is one wonderful book, and it's such a great start to a new series as well. I wish I told more people that this was a first in a series, because I think it threw a lot of people that the story wasn't complete by the end of it. I'm sorry about that. This is going to be such a great series, I promise you. I mean, not that I've read any more, but yeah, this is just such a great starter one. I just love this world. I love this world. There's so much potential with there being so many different strongholds, and them going to different places and meeting different people. Like, the story potential in this is just astronomical, and it's so great for like that wintry kind of feel as well, and for that strong sense of friendship. I cannot wait to see more of these characters. You know, when you just like feel so invested in these characters that you can't wait to see them again. This is that book, and this was so great to reread as well, because I read a proof copy back in July, and this one has complete illustrations. The proof copy had only about half of them, so it was great to dive back into this world and read the full story as it was published. Oh, I need a breather. But I totally agree with some of the criticisms from this book. It is a little bit slow going to begin with, and there are some predictable moments in this as well. Totally get it. I didn't exactly predict some of these things as mentioned in the live show, which I will link up here. But one thing I do love about this one is the fact that the ending, the climax, and the sort of battle is not short and quick and easy. Is actually a challenge for our main character. It's not a quick fix kind of thing. It was drawn out, and it was very action-packed, especially like the last act of this book was so action-packed, so impactful, and I'm just so happy. Like, I'm so happy, because I loved this before it even came out. As soon as it was described as Frozen meets How to Train Your Dragon, I knew I had to have it, and I knew I was going to love it, and loved it I did. So if you loved Frozen, if you loved Frozen 2, which I did, y'all, I loved it, then this is the perfect book for you. Read it, it's amazing. So those were the 15 books that I read in November. Hopefully this is the last time I record this video as well, and I hope you guys had an amazing Believathon. I had so much fun hosting it, and it meant the world to me to see so many people join in, so many people discover so many great children's books for the first time as well. Like, I want this to continue in 2020. I can't wait to do mini Believathon in May. I will do more announcements and stuff near the time, but I just think that children's literature should be read by everyone, because it's just so amazing and so good, and just fills you with so much joy, and November did fill me with joy. So on that note, I will leave that with thank you so much for watching my wrap up. And let me know what you thought about Believathon. If you have any ideas or any criticisms, just like let me know how your month went, your favorite read of the month as well. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and a comment to let me know you were here. And just, yeah, I just love you guys so much. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Bye.